people? We are back. House of the Dragon. The episode has concluded, and we are back with our recap. Season 3, Episode 5, entitled Unbowed and Unbent. And guys, man, I feel like I am at the risk of repeating something that I talked about a lot back in the day when Chris and I were recapping Mandalorian, which is that, god damn it, why are we still getting filler episodes in these goddamn 8-episode long seasons? Now, don't get me wrong. That's not to say that this is a bad episode. That's not to say that there isn't a lot of good stuff that happens in this episode. I thought there was some really interesting stuff that happened. I particularly liked how this is probably the most green-focused episode that we've had all season. I like how it is focusing kind of on the different trajectories now that the green cause has basically been all but shattered. Otto Hightower, who was the kind of forebearer of the Greens, had his head chopped off in episode 2. And so now the Greens have basically scattered as far as being a force to repel Rhaenyra and are now kind of all on their own, and they all have their own agendas now. I think that is very interesting. But man, it was like this whole episode is a build up to Butcher's Ball, which is we're confirmed to be getting next episode. And I can't help but wonder, like, couldn't we have just gotten that this episode and gotten it out of the way? You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. What do you guys think?
I kind of have similar feelings. I thought, it was nice to see some of the scenes, some of the little conversations that we had in this episode. We're at a point where there really wasn't much, I guess, like character development compared to the books, where there's definitely some missing gaps that it's nice to see them at least trying to fill. But they are definitely filling. I'll put it that way. So yeah. It's do I hate everything they're introducing? No, but do I feel it's kind of dragging a bit, especially with knowing some fates that are upcoming, and do we need to dedicate, X amount of time to these characters that, really aren't going to be around for much longer? I don't know, personally. So that's kind of where I'm at. We'll dive more into that, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit of the season 2 pacing issues starting to creep in from last episode and then into this one, where we are kind of, we're venturing off of what is on the page, off the storyline to fill in characters, with development that is not there in the book, which is good. That is what the show ought to do, is to flesh out these characters, really get them. But I think it has fallen into kind of like, I get it. You've told me this thing already. I don't need to be told it in another way, in another form. The point has been made. Rhaenyra is struggling with how to lead and how to lead correctly and efficiently. And Daemon is now just obsessed. They've kind of turned him into a one-note character, where now he's just obsessed with this Targaryens are gods and conquerors concept, which is fine. But like, he was a more complicated character even at the beginning of the season, and now he's kind of just been,
even last season, man.
Yeah, and now he's kind of just stuck in that. Now that he is, the in power, consort. Yeah, the king consort, but in power. That's all he can think of. So yeah, I think it's leading to good places. It's leading to interesting ideas, and it is fleshing out characters that we don't have, as much knowledge of, just because they just kind of skip over that stuff. But I just think it's kind of gotten bogged down with telling us the same thing over and over again.
Probably the two, and we talked about this a little bit before the stream started, but I think probably my two biggest gripes with this episode personally. Number one, the fact that Rhaenyra and Daemon cannot figure out that Ormond is the one behind the murders that are happening in King's Landing. There was a series of murders of gold cloaks that are happening throughout the city, very, very reminiscent of the Sons of the Harpy attacks in season 5 of OG Game of Thrones. And unlike that season, that show, where it's like, okay, there was a little bit of ambiguity around it. Daenerys was a newcomer to a relatively foreign land. She didn't know who could have possibly been behind it. There was a little bit of dramatic irony as far as, okay, we, the audience, may have been able to figure it out, but we're not sure. But we're in King's Landing here. For the most part, her enemies have been dealt with, and there is an enemy that has set up shop right down the goddamn road, and who already pulled off a maneuver like this 2 episodes ago by giving them a fake Darren, and they can't figure out that it's this guy. So that's my number one. And it takes literally...
And it was so easy. Like, they put up some graffiti, and Rhaenyra gets pissed off at that. And then, there's unrest in the city because she's brutalizing people for stuff they didn't do. And And like, it's just a weird deviation to go like, yeah, the people fell out of favor with Rhaenyra because she was really hard on him. And in this case, it's like she gets tricked into thinking the people are against her because, the opposite force is actually doing it and they can't figure it out. Like,
it's one of those instances where it's like they're making it complicated and they don't need to, like, at all. Like, it's already right there.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, like, how poorly Rhaenyra's leading.
Right.
To be like, oh no, they're actually just pissed off because somebody else is doing something
right.
wrong.
Like, you already had Lady Frey in the episode basically saying that, like, yeah, you promised us Harrenhal, and now you're promising it to some like base sellsword, and she's like, I promised it to whoever was gonna get Vhagar. You're welcome to try. But it's like, so, and I have a slight problem as well with how they're presenting Rhaenyra's descent in terms of like what her focus is versus how she should be ruling. Like, I get it. Okay, her focusing on Vhagar versus her focus changes like every 5 minutes. Like 1 minute she's on Vhagar, the next minute she's on ruling the city properly. Oh, but now it's back to Vhagar. So like you have that, and like I don't know, they've constantly been telling us that Daemon is a somewhat cunning character. Again, Daemon led the Gold Cloaks to be able to root out people. But it takes him like that long to figure out that it could possibly be Ormond and Darren behind this, that Ormond is crowned Darren the king. And okay, yeah, his option is to brutalize and burn everybody to the ground. But in this instance, his instincts were kind of right, because I'm sorry, but if they'd burned Tumbleton down the moment that they found out that Ormond and them were there, they could have solved all of this, And that might be like kind of more higher plot mechanics as far as regards to the show, to how the show is tackling it versus how it was interpreted from the book. But either way, I'm like, it started to get into latter season Game of Thrones problems territory for me.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. I think my biggest issue from at least like from the writing standpoint is the moment that they find out, right, that Daeron is not the real Daeron, it should immediately be clicking in their mind. Okay, there's still a rogue dragon rider out there, right? If we don't actually have the real guy in front of us, clearly they're trying to dupe us, right? Why would they want to keep him to themselves if they weren't planning on using him in some way, right? It's immediately a no-brainer. I feel like when Rhaenyra, Daemon, I feel like when the moment you find that out, why do you not just get your Dragon Riders together, go back and just try and just take care of it by force?
House of the
like,
Dragon,
why even take that risk?
House of the Dragon, as we know, has a long history of these like, characters acting stupid for the purpose of plot happening. For example, the number one, I feel like, biggest criticism that we all have with season 1 is why in the fuck Rhaenys and Meleys did not torch the Green Assembly after they burst through the Sept of Baelor, and when she saw Aegon being crowned right in front of them. It's cool that she went and warned Rhaenyra, but it's like Daemon literally even says it. You had a chance to end all of this right there. Like that decision right there, I feel like this show has been chock full of moments like this. OG Game of Thrones committed sins like this all the time, where it's like characters acting stupid for the sake of plot needing to happen. And it's like, I feel like us as audience members are tired of shit like that.
So something super dumb from last week was when Hugh Hammer is like, yo, my wife is in Tumbleton. I want to be there to protect her. And Rhaenyra like calls out the conflict of interest. And he's still
and it goes anyway.
What do we do? Like, get this guy off of the dragon, get him shipped out at like, this is a humongous conflict of like anybody with half a brain would be like, whoa, okay, so if I do have to end up attacking this place and his wife is caught in the crossfires, now I have a dragon rider with a grudge against me? Like,
especially given the fact that you already see on next week's episode him like approaching some riders that are coming outside of Tumbleton. So already
it makes it so overly complicated and forces characters to have to be like knowingly stupid.
Yeah.
Like it's just weird.
Yeah.
And I part of me gets it. Like part of me really gets it because they have to fill in for some things that obviously we as like the readers of the book like just can't see in the background, whatever's going on. But I feel like they could have done more, I guess, realistic, scenarios that didn't have to force their hand in these kinds of ways or make them forget in these kinds of ways.
I just don't understand the move to make Hugh this noble character when he's not in the books and it is just a show choice to do so. Just make him a bad guy. We're used to cheering and kind of rooting for bad guys in this show.
Right.
Like, it's not a problem if both him and Ulf are just bad guys in different ways.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about a few of this episode's good points because I don't want to completely dogpile on it. This episode does have a lot of good going for it. I'll say like my other gigantic nitpick problem that I have for near the end, which is, so like I said, the fact that this episode is probably the most focused on the Greens, in the sense of where this episode, if I had to pick one common thing that this episode has going for it, is that in the wake of the Blacks' victory, the Greens are all fractured and completely on their own. Like, Ormond's goal is different from Alicent's, is different from Aegon's, is different from Aemon's, is different from Kristen. Like, they're all fractured and all over the place. So I literally have it here. Aegon wants to kill Aemon. Aemon is still haunted by his past and just wants to find Vhagar. He's like, oh, without Vhagar, I'm nothing. Alicent wants to protect Helena at all costs. Ormond, as far as he's concerned, is just like, fuck all the rest of these idiots. Darren is the king now, and through him is how I'm going to achieve my rule and my play of power. And Kristen Cole just wants to die. That's pretty much like what their goals are. Now, I'll save my second giant nitpick for at the end, because like I said, this episode is pretty much all the lead up to Butcher's Ball. I still have some grudges. I'm like, why couldn't we have just gotten Butcher's Ball out of the way, especially since we have the strategizing and tacticians that are established at the beginning between Oscar Tully and Roderick Dustin, when they're discussing, like, oh man, like they're waylaying us, and then you see them waylaying the camp, and you're like, okay, so they're just falling for it blatantly. But what's it called? I think probably the number one thing, most satisfying moment that I got from this episode is Larys finally giving Aegon his medicine, which is basically telling him where Aegon is crying and moping and complaining. It's like, I want to kill Aemon. I hate him so much. You know, he was always who I was meant to be. You know, he was always put in training. He was always so good at everything. You know, I sucked, blah, blah, blah. And Larys is like, you spoiled child. You had everything going for you. You got maimed because you flew into a battle that you were not suited for. Any chance that you had to actually like learn and prove yourself to be the king that you were always deigned to be, you basically threw it away. You just got drunk and fucked whoever you wanted to. Maybe the reason why all this bad shit has happened to you is because you were a terrible king, you know? And it's finally, and look, it's an easy thing to say because Larys is finally at a moment to be able to say this to Aegon without having to suffer fear of repercussion. But I don't know. What did you guys think of Larys finally giving Aegon his medicine?
Yeah, I thought it was at least nice to hear. It's definitely something that I feel like as we, the audience, are, you know, something that we could have said to him, you know, something that we've wanted to say to him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they have a lot of work to do with what they're trying to do with Aemon, where they're trying to just Aegon. And
how many times can we screw up a Targaryen's name? That's check one for this episode.
Take a shot every time, right?
Yeah, Aemon isn't doing so hot in this episode either. A lot of character development going on there. He loves his mom.
Mm-hmm. Weird. I think the show already told us that.
So yeah, I mean, it's gonna have to go farther than him kissing the boots of some, you know, local dude for Aegon to be brought low enough to where we, the audience, are like, all right, let's give this guy another shot. And I think this is part of that process, having him just being read the riot act essentially. But yeah, it's gonna take more, at least for me.
I don't know. Me personally, I don't think like he can be redeemed. Like I feel like we're just casually passing up the fact that this dude's a rapist. Like he literally fucked one of the whatever, just one of the servants in the castle and like impregnated her. That whole scene in season 2 where they had to give her the milk of the poppy and everything, or maybe late season 1. I can't remember.
Yeah, that was late season 1.
I don't know. Like it's nice to see someone get their comeuppance, but I personally don't think a redemption arc is right.
See, I don't think it's a redemption arc that they're going for. Not at all. It's funny because I actually think it's the opposite. I think it's to me, it's like a Tony Soprano, Jake Gyllenhaal from Nightcrawler thing, where it's like for me, I'm reminded in that scene of there's a sequence in late Sopranos season 5 where it's after Tony's cousin, Tony Blundetto, kills the brother of a New York guy, and Tony is basically forced an ultimatum, which is where hand over your cousin or things are going to go really bad for you and your crew. And Tony is basically the whole reason why Tony feels so protective of his cousin is because basically the reason why his cousin went to jail is because of him. He was supposed to show up to help out with this truck jacket that his cousin ended up going to jail for, and he wasn't there because of a panic attack with his mother that his mother caused. And his therapist basically helps him realize it's like, you are only acting this way because you are acting out of guilt. You don't actually care about this guy. And the result is that, sorry for anybody who hasn't seen The Sopranos, but the result is that Tony ends up killing his cousin rather than handing him over to New York for him to be tortured. So that's kind of what I'm getting here in the sense of where Aegon, up until this point, like I said, has been trying to walk this line between like trying to be a good guy, but also being a complete incompetent and also a piece of shit. And in my mind, this is Larys telling him like, dude, you are only one thing. You are only going to be ever capable of one thing. be that one thing. And it pays off to me when later on, when Tylan shows up, which, by the way, I had it pegged. I'm like, we didn't see the body. I had a feeling Tylan was going to survive. And so while Tylan and Larys are talking and trying to figure out what to do with Aegon, the one guy who was giving Aegon shit last week discovers his crown, and Aegon immediately stabs him and kills him. And like as the blood is oozing out of the guy's mouth, he's like, "You will call me your grace." And that to me was, I'm like, oh, this is Aegon's heel turn towards becoming like, oh, and like I'm actually going to become like truly evil. Because Aegon's biggest flaw that he had going for him, other than the fact that he was a rapist, like he was a bad dude, but he didn't view himself as a bad guy. Now he is going to fully start to own that title. So that's what I saw that as.
To at least embrace it. I guess I get that. But if they were just going to save all of this character development for this one episode, then why have all these extravagant side quests going on for this whole season?
And of
right?
course,
we've dedicated at least about like 10 to 15 minutes of screen time for him at this point doing miscellaneous things, you know. So
all I heard was Larys just gave him a halftime speech and was basically like, brother, you were dog shit in the first half, but man, you dig it deep inside yourself and the second half is yours. Like, I mean, that's what it was. It was like, you've lived a shitty life because you felt entitled to it and you treated everybody horribly, and now you're as low as you're ever going to be. Rise up, do it.
Pretty much.
But like at that point, I'm not gonna ever cheer for him. He's
no,
guy.
Not at all. Right. Not at all. Like Aegon is so far beyond. Like I said, I'm not trying to don't get it twisted. I am not trying to at all say that we should vouch for Aegon Targaryen of all people. But I'm just saying that, like, in terms of what they're actually trying to go for, that to me is clearly what it is that they're trying to go for. We all know again that they're setting up for Sunfire to come back. That's going to happen in the penultimate episode. We know next episode is Butcher's Balls. Penultimate episode is Sunfire comes back, and if Tumbleton will either be penultimate or final episode.
Or they'll save it till episode 2 of season 4.
Oh God, not again! With this fucking show's pacing, honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, let's go to Harrenhal. Real quick, Luke.
I was just gonna say, if we want to keep this more positive, I thought that the Ormond and Daemon chess match was unbelievable. Yeah, I can't keep these guys straight. And then Joffrey shows up too, and I'm like, all right, now I gotta remember this guy.
And he's like, oh no, it doesn't help that he already has the name of the most despicable character of OG. I felt bad for Joffrey. All he wants is his mom. Does Joffrey even know that Jace is dead at this point? Like,
I don't think Joffrey knows anything that's going on.
Joffrey is just he is only in the show just because he was just in the books. Really, like they already got
Aegon and Viserys out of the show as fast as humanly possible. Like they're toddlers that we literally can't do anything with them. Just get them the fuck out of the show.
Yeah, basically.
Oh man. All right, let's go over to Harrenhal. Aemon and Alice. How are we feeling about everything that's going on here? It's mostly just like you were saying, Luke. So they basically took everything that happened with Daemon over the course of 6 episodes last season and have basically confined it down to 1 episode. We thankfully were spared 2 episodes of Aemon basically healing and dealing with the ghosts of Harrenhal. And throughout it also you have like these multiple squads of soldiers who keep showing up to Harrenhal in order to try and find Aemon, and Alice keeps warding them off. No sign of Vhagar. Again, how the fuck does the biggest dragon of the realm just magically disappear? Who knows? But I'm assuming that people have been theorizing that that's some witchy magic that Alice is pulling and keeping Vhagar hidden, both from Aemon and from the soldiers who are looking for him. You also have Baela and Adam are searching for him as well throughout the Riverlands. What are we making of this whole sequence?
I feel like they're definitely still building more of this magical element and whatever's going to happen at Harrenhal, most likely with Aemon and Daemon. I don't know. It's so many. The names all sound the same. It's crazy. But anyways, I think I don't know. It's fine. I'm kind of obviously this is definitely a plot line I'm really not as invested in compared to the others, mainly just because Aemon's kind of a piece of shit. I feel like the only intrigue here is really what's going on with our little witch friend here and how some of the magic ties back in with with everything else going on. I feel like I don't know. I like at no point was I ever concerned of who was going to come out on top in the little fight scene that happens. You know, I feel like it kind of was a bit of a nothing burger, but they're at least showing that he's recovering. So
yeah, and in terms of them repeating stuff that we already know, Aemon being like, "Oh no, without my dragon, I'm nothing." It's like, wow, we had no idea about that, dude. Had no clue. That's how you felt.
Here's the things I hated about my brother. Here's the things I hated about my childhood. Here's why I felt my mom treated me unfairly. Can you please hold me like I always wanted my mother to hold me?
Yeah. The exposition was a little heavy-handed on this instance, but
yeah. And in terms of like Aemon becoming like Alice's staunch protector, like what did Alice actually do for him other than healing him? But
have you ever seen The English Patient? Come on.
No, I have not.
It's amazing. It's all about falling in love with your nurse.
And that movie won Best Picture over Fargo. That should tell you where the Academy's mind is at. Oh my God! This episode is just getting worse and worse the more we discuss it. We got to truck on though.
And like it's not like objectively, it's still not like a crazy bad episode of TV. No. But for the standards that we are used to, there's definitely some flaws we can point out here.
I'm starting to understand why George R. R. Martin disowned the show, and I'm like, oh man, I hate to give George R. R. Martin any credit at all, but.
If they turn the pregnancy of Helaena into Maelor somehow,
well, that's obviously what it's gonna be.
Well, it has to be. It's the only thing, but it's a crazy move.
Yeah. So you know what? Like I said, let's talk about that because that is obviously the centerpiece of this episode. Is Alicent doing whatever she possibly can in order to try and protect Helaena? Getting the abortion juice, as I'm going to call it, from Grand Maester Orwyle.
Moon
juice, but I like abortion juice better. It has a nice ringer to it. Where it gets the abortion juice from Grand Maester Orwyle and tries to get Helaena to take it. Helaena says no. She's like, oh, it is mine. This, that, the third. Mysaria once again figures it out in 5 seconds. Alicent tries to smuggle her and Helaena out. Mysaria catches them. Alicent making the deal with Mysaria. This I thought was interesting because Alicent basically saying like, okay, Mysaria, you can't put all your chips in Rhaenyra, especially since like I'm confined to a cell and even I can tell that her rule is crumbling out like within 5 minutes of her being in the Red Keep. So like, do you want to put all your stake in this queen, or do you want to like basically spread out your chips across multiple hands and, basically earn favor with the High Towers? You don't hurt Rhaenyra at all by not telling her about this, versus if you tell her about the pregnancy, you put her in an impossible situation and endanger us, because then it becomes entirely dependent on whether the unborn child is a boy or a girl. And then, so Mysaria definitely takes this into consideration. And then they discover the secret passage at the end, and they maybe become trapped. Maybe it kind of ends on a cliffhanger. I'm not quite sure where they were going with that, but like that to me was like the most compelling plot line, and seeing that like, okay, like Alda, like still giving Alicent something to do other than just like, being a prisoner at this point.
I thought that she was going out that window when she told her that she couldn't go see Jaehaerys
or
Jaehaera, and then she's like, go look at the moon, and she went over and looked out the window, and I was like,
I interpreted that as like, she was gonna go to Dreamfire, her dragon.
I thought she was jumping out that window.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Eli, your take?
Honestly, I didn't really think much of it. I feel that I don't know. I wasn't trying to read too much into that. I didn't anticipate it being like he was gonna jump or anything.
Oh, I'm mostly kidding. It's funny when Helaena walks by windows.
We're reminded of Tommen from the OG Thrones. But yeah, like what do we think as far as like how this whole pregnancy plot line is going to build up? Because again, so if I'm remembering correctly, I believe that it was this specific plot line that caused Martin to be like to completely disown the show, where he was not a fan at all of the decision to, rather than already have Maelor be a character in the story, have Helaena be pregnant with who we could assume to be Maelor.
Well, it changes the choice she has to make with when the assassins come in.
Right.
So she's not choosing between two boys, and then having the choice essentially made for her, and then having to live with that consequence. She instead just has her only son die. So it wasn't really much of a choice. And then they're going to bring Maelor in later, which is weird.
Well, it creates one of two scenarios, given what we know is going to happen with the rising of the Shepherd, which will presumably happen in season 4, if not later this season, which is when that poor baby gets torn apart in the books. It'll either be, okay, the baby's born, and then it proceeds how it happened in the book, or worse, Helaena herself ends up getting torn apart by the angry mob while still carrying the unborn child.
That's the only, obviously those
either way, it's not pretty work. Either way.
I just thought that they were just going to excise that part of the story.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I feel like they're going to obviously tone it down. I mean, they already toned it down with, the beginning of season 2 and, what happened with her other child. So I think, I don't really see it panning out the way they did in the books, but I don't know. I feel like this is at least a loose end as a book reader where there's at least enough to give us what, personally, I'm not a fan of it, but I'm open-minded enough to see that, okay, they're at least trying to do something here. I'm all for seeing how they might be able to tweak this from the books and everything, and to at least give us a different take on it, at least to give us some shock value and everything like that.
And this, like, the way that they set this whole storyline up through the different scenes throughout the episode, like, very, like, sitcom TV show, like it was very much like, oh, we're gonna break out, don't tell anybody, immediately caught, and then like, okay, well, Mysaria would always know that you were like they're in control of the castle. Like, how are you gonna?
And they never left the castle in the books either.
And then and then they find a secret passageway. Like, what is this, Clue? And then they get stuck in there.
It kind of remind me of Clue a little bit.
It's like,
right?
Is this an Indiana Jones? Like, is this Temple of Doom? And they're locked in their room, and suddenly they find the crypt.
It's like, why have Mysaria find them at all? Why couldn't they have just discovered
just
the
do that part?
Like,
you could have the scene. You could have the scene where Alicent has to drink the moon drink to cover up. You could have Mysaria still confront her about lying, and then have them try to escape.
Yeah, and obviously, like, as someone that's like trying to be a writer, I really can sympathize with the fact that they have so much to juggle. I really, really do. But at the same time, they're still adding in characters, right?
Yeah.
Or giving very, very small characters bigger roles in the story for whatever their own reasons, whatever. But it's just like, it's like things like that we don't need. There's already too much to do.
Well, does there need to be a lover's triangle between Daemon, Rhaenyra, and Mysaria? Like,
well, remember, that only happened because there was no script for it, and so Emma just went. The actress just went for it.
But they keep talking about it. It's Alicent's like move every single time.
To write it into this. They had to write it into this season as a result of it.
I'm like, what are you talking about? She's married to Daemon. Of course, she's gonna listen to Daemon.
Take lovers on the side, and women making out with other women. It's a sign of power. Didn't you know?
It's strange. It's a strange way to take care of it, but Yet, on a positive note, it's all pointing in a direction that is compelling and interesting. It's just the kind of ride along the way is a little bit dull.
Yeah,
it's definitely giving off the same, like, I guess, vibe, if you will, almost to like the Star Wars prequels, but scene by scene, you can definitely point out some flaws, and whether it's the acting or the writing or it's a tiny bit, it's
just a tiny bit.
I don't like to feel a stand.
Yeah, of course, and it's rough and it's irritating and it gets everywhere. Oh man, real quick, what did you think of Alicent's plea and bargain with Mysaria? Like, what did you guys think of that whole scene?
I don't know.
Well, or rather, should I? Let me rephrase it. Will it lead anywhere? Do we think, or no? It's just gonna ultimately be meaningless, like all this other fluff.
They are leading us to Rhaenyra is gonna have to decide between the council of one or the council of the other, and there will be a fallout. And I would assume it's going to be Daemon. And
it's obviously going to be Daemon.
Yeah, that will be to his demise.
But then my wonder is, so then she trusts Mysaria, but then finding out that Mysaria may have made this secret pact with Alicent, will that affect something going forward?
It'll be it's the it's the small dagger, it's the secret dagger.
Yep.
Yeah.
Slowly. Oh wow, we are still Nolan pilled here. We are still very Nolan pilled here for sure.
Slowly, I mean, obviously, it's going to lead to Rhaenyra being further isolated from just everyone, right? Not being able to trust anyone. Just more, already, obviously a twice over grieving mother in like the last couple weeks in the timeline here, and then having to
figure out is how much time. I mean, obviously we know that like things have been pretty one right after another since episode 8 of season 1, which is like all in the current timeline. But
it's been like a couple months since the end of season 1, basically.
Something like that, which is insane because it's been 4 years since that season. But
right.
Oh man, the perks of them covering 20 years worth of material in one season. But
yeah.
All right. So the last bit. the build up to Butcher's Ball, as I should say, which is my other giant nitpick, which is where, again, Cole basically already told Gwen in the last episode that he was going to die. And now this whole thing is just building up to Cole saying, yeah, I'm going to die. Like, you can leave if you want to. And Gwen ends up leaving to presumably go to Tumbleton to meet up with Ormond. And it's like, I do kind of understand where Kristen Cole is coming from a little bit, where Gwen is like, oh, you can come to Old Town with us. You could serve our house. You know, we would welcome you with open arms. And at the end, Cole's like, oh, so, you know, you just made me another offer to serve, but I've served my entire life. And now I'm going to die with honor in my hands. You know, I know I'm going to die, and now but the difference is I'm going to willingly die. It's going to be my choice, you know, and hopefully Alicent will hear it. I'm just like, dude, you had like a sort of a good moment going for it, and then you're just immediately going to be like, oh, no, I'm going to die willingly, so that hopefully the love of my life will, this girl who I'm sure has already forgotten about me, will presumably want to hear me again. And I'm just like,
she doesn't forget. She
doesn't give two shits about you. But
she's busy, little bro.
Yeah, and like it's really aggravated me because like the buildup was so good. Like when they're walking through the marsh and like Gwen pulls the leech off of him, like, and then they wander onto the field with the pikes, and the horses all flee, and so Cole has to kill his horse, and then they get to the bridge at the end, and they discover that their own tactics of burning down the passes across the river have been used against them now. So like that was all cool, but like for it to just build up to be like basically like Cole rallying his remaining men to basically die, like I don't know. I'm just like, what are we doing here?
I do like that Kristen Cole has just become like the emo champion of House of Dragons, or just like, poor guy, you know, all he wants to do is just be loved by this woman, and you know, he's just cast out, traded up for more power and riches over and over again, and all he can do is try to die valiantly.
I don't know. I guess it makes sense when we talk about it. I've just been honestly more annoyed than anything that we're getting so much Kristen Cole screen time.
Oh, this storyline is the worst. Eli.
Just knowing where it's going, like so much of this really just is pointless.
Know what's gonna. I'm like, just get it over with.
I did appreciate they tried to make it cool with the night raids, and they're like, whoa.
Yeah. Except there was one scene. It was one scene that we got.
Yeah, I thought that one speech they were almost trying to make us at the audience like kind of root for him. I don't know. Maybe that's how I felt.
Is if we spent more time with the new characters that we introduced, Oscar Tully and Roderick Dustin, who got that badass introduction in the first episode, who we've spent a whopping 2 minutes with this whole season. If we saw it from their perspective, the characters that we actually like and who we actually want to root for, and we actually see them suffering the attacks rather than spending all this time with Kristen Cole, who we just know is basically saying, I'm going off to die. We know, like, that would have been more interesting if we had spent time with those characters.
But
But
Kristen Cole's actor has a pretty good contract.
That's true. That's true.
Forgetting his name.
He's got to make he's got to make good use of that. You know, he's sort of a name now, even though you like it. You name the actor who plays him?
Absolutely not.
Exactly.
I cannot. I barely remember like 5. I'm so bad with actors' names, dude. If it's not one of the mainstreams, then
it's so hilarious to me that people still try to like act like these old Hollywood contracts are still in place. But I'm like, guys, unless they're like a movie star that we grew up watching, no one's gonna know their name. Like, no one is gonna know their name. I guarantee you go up to any regular Joe Schmo in the street, nobody's gonna be able to name one single actor from the show. Maybe Matt Smith if they're a Doctor Who fan, but I feel like that's about it.
Yeah, I think Matt Smith is honestly the only like big name I knew prior to the show even starting. That was going to, and obviously like Patty Constantine, I knew had been in other stuff. Nothing I was like crazy familiar with.
Rhys Ifans had been in a lot of things, but the problem is Rhys Ifans had the problem of like having an unpronounceable name. But when you have an unpronounceable name, it kind of screws you in. It kind of unfortunately relegates you to character actor territory because it's like, I'm sorry, they're just going to call you that guy if they can't pronounce your fucking. It's the same problem that Echo from Lost has. Like they're only ever going to call him Mr. Echo from Lost because nobody can pronounce his fucking name.
Yeah, like Ralph Fiennes.
Exactly. Which that one is stupid because it's like, buddy, your name's not Ray, it's Ralph. It's spelled Ralph. Like
it's Ray Fiennes.
God, so dumb, so dumb. Oh man, yeah. We just need to kill. I just hope that next week Butcher's Ball opens the episode. They just kill Kristen Cole as fast as humanly possible because I swear to God, if I have to hear another goddamn monologue from him about how we are doomed to die. Essentially, the dragons have unleashed the beast. If I think listen to another goddamn monologue about that, I'm actually gonna lose it.
Yeah.
I think we'll hear a speech. I just don't think it'll be crazy long. I'm really hoping that scene is less than 5 minutes.
It better be.
So
I'm
really crossing my fingers on it.
How many times has it happened in the Game of Thrones like dialogue world where they go through the 7 and what they're going to do in the name of each one of the sevens.
Too many times. And everything has only been done
and the
well.
mother who taught us love.
And it's only been done well once. One time, which is when...
It wasn't in this show.
It was not in this show. It was in the better Game of Thrones show that we got earlier this year.
Yeah.
Which those episodes were half an hour long because that show understood pacing.
What a show.
What a show. Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Who knew that in this reality we'd be living in a world where Night of the Seven Kingdoms is a better show, a half-hour side quest show is a better show than the big epic grandiose dragon action show.
Who knew if you stuck to the source material, it would work out.
Crazy concept.
It's
crazy concept.
It seems like that show liked its audience. The show does not like its audience.
That is honestly, that's true. That's about right.
Every single episode, they're just like, "Fuck you, we're gonna do what we want." We're like,
they're definitely
just do what we're asking. It's not that hard.
Well, controversy gets clicks on social media.
Yeah, I was about to say, according to these guys, pretty difficult.
I will submit that populism is never a good idea. Just because everybody's calling for it does not mean it's good. So I'm probably wrong, but like at the same time.
But if what you're doing isn't good either, then what other choice do you have?
Learn from the sins of season 2 where things kind of ground to a halt.
But they haven't.
Yeah. Well, I think we got it out of our system. If I'm staying positive, I think these last 2 episodes were a little throat clearing. They're out of our system. I think we got bangers the rest of the way, boys.
Yeah.
I at least from what we've seen in the first half of this season, this episode is kind of a blip, all things considered. I think we've maybe ripped on it a little more. Well, yes and no.
In fairness, episode 5 of last season was also very much a throat-clearing episode. The difference being, obviously, that took place after the Battle of Rook's Rest, so it made sense that all the characters needed to take a beat and pause and reset.
Right.
But here it's like...
I'll go back to it. I love that Ormond is getting expanded, that we're getting to know his character, his motivations a lot more. I thought the scene where he beats him at chess,
that was good. That was a good scene.
And then mixed with what Gwaine explained about Ormond being a poor loser and having to let him win, and then you literally see him act like a child and knock all the pieces off the board, and then to have Darren's piece that checkmates him, be the dragon, like Ormond's talking about, the way things used to be, and just with dragons they took us over, but we're the intelligence, we are the history, the institution of this place. And Darren just reminds him, I got a dragon, buddy. No matter what you want to do with your power and using me for your gain, I will always have a dragon.
Yep. Dragons are the ultimate.
I thought that was a great way to communicate that message.
You know what's funny about that whole sequence too is the fact that for all of Ormond's posturing about the intelligent men will always get the better of savage beasts, and how he didn't bring up the one instance that the reason why Dorne maintained its anonymity is because Dorne is the only nation that killed the dragon in the past. I was kind of surprised that he didn't bring that up, where Darren's own ancestor, Aegon the Conqueror's sister, Rhaenys, the original Rhaenys, who rode Meraxes, was killed because when they flew on Dorne, one random archer fired a bolt directly into Meraxes' eye, and they crashed and died. So, I'm surprised that he didn't bring that up.
Well, they're kind of paralleling this with, Daemon talking about, and Daemon being a scholar of the histories and all that, in that Ormond and Daemon both cannot look at these histories, and they only can see themselves in these histories. They can only see the tactics that they want to use, the tactics that they are using. So her hiding in Dorne and then coming out and attacking it, Ormond is basically being I'm doing that right now with the gold cloaks. They don't even see me coming, type of stuff. So they're so Daemon and Ormond are so full of themselves and so confident in themselves that they are, the rightful power in the kingdom, that when they look into history, they can only see things that benefit themselves.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but that's about all as much as I want to talk about this episode. There's a couple of other things that we could have talked about, Baela and Adam. There may be some romance percolating there, or Daemon once again just urging Rhaenyra. It's like more. We're used to that at this point. That's like, I'm sorry, the kiss in the mouth. Aemon kissing Alicent at the beginning of the season, basically like, all right, so like we basically just don't care about that anymore. Yeah, remember that? That feels like it was a month ago. Actually, it might have been. But
I can tolerate siblings, but parents, that's where I draw the line.
That's where I draw the line. Exactly, not according to this show. But what I will say, that I feel like that's about all that I want to talk about this episode as much. Hopefully next week we'll get Butcher's Ball and we'll have some more interesting stuff to talk about. So that was it. That was our recap of House of the Dragon episode 5. Fingers crossed there's better stuff on the horizon, but oh man. Oh, we're not heading in a good direction. That's all that I'm gonna say. Eli,
I mean, the signs for next episode seem very promising, and I have faith that this season will still end up better than last season, even if the bar's low. I think we will get some pretty good moments. It's just I just really hope all of the in between those great moments is just less like this episode and more like episode 2 and episode 3.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think we're on a good trajectory. I think if some of this, character building that we've done the last 2 episodes ends up paying off and making things more interesting when we get to, bigger events that occur, I think we'll look back on these a little bit more fondly. But yeah, going through them is tough right now because it does remind me a lot of the bogging down of season 2. But I think we're headed in a good direction. I think these are going to get more exciting, and hopefully some of this stuff that we've walked through pays off a little bit.
Indeed. All right, people. Eli, where can the good people follow you on the interwebs?
Hey, same place as always, folks. I got an Instagram. That's about it. You want to shoot me a follow or a DM? Instagram handle is E_Holicky, like it's spelled on the screen here, or eHolicky45 at Instagram. So.
All right. Luke.
Franchise Addicts everywhere. Check us out. And then I was on the Odyssey episode this morning that should be released now.
Indeed,
if you're watching this.
Indeed, it will. That episode will be available on Spotify tomorrow morning. If you are listening to this episode, we'll probably be I'll probably release this in Lost on around Tuesday. You guys can follow me with everything going on at Movie Nerd Reviews across all platforms, at Official Talking TV Podcast across all platforms. And we will see you guys next week on House of the Dragon. Fingers crossed we get a better episode because, this is a tough one. We'll see you guys next week.